What if following Jesus was not about being perfect, but just about getting one step closer to him every day?
Welcome to One Step Closer. We're your hosts, Anna Richey,
And I'm Parker O'Veary, and this podcast is about one simple mission.
bridging the gap between Jesus and people everywhere.
Because faith is not about having everything just figured out.
It's about taking one step closer to him.
This
is One Step Closer.
All right, Anna, how are you doing?
I'm so good. This is
Awesome.
exciting.
Right?
I love this.
Man, we've been talking about starting this podcast for
A long
a
time.
very long time.
Yeah.
Anna, you and I have known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Our families have known each other for longer than that,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Our dads collaborated together years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You are a mom. You're a singer, songwriter, and a follower of Jesus Christ, right? I didn't know this about you. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but you've collaborated with artists in Nashville. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Nashville holds a special place in my heart because that was kind of where a lot of like opportunities kind of opened up for me, and I got into songwriting, and it just like my world just blossomed into this new possibility of music, and not just singing but songwriting and expressing my experiences and feelings through song. And I just thought it was just so much fun. I love Nashville.
Yeah. So tell me about your inspiration process for when you're writing a song. Like, is there sometimes a place that can be like, oh, this is my inspiration place? Or, and is it more just like that place helps you get in the zone, or is it a place is actually inspiring itself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I love nature. Some of my favorite songs I've written just like on a porch swing outside in Fairview, Utah, or
Yeah, Fairview, Utah's
it's
great.
the best. Sometimes inspiration hits me in those moments. Other times it's 3 a.m. and I just like wake up out of bed and a song is just playing in my head and I have to like get it down. And then other times I have to set up the scene and be like, hey, I'm going downstairs to my office, sitting at my piano. I'm going to come up with the melody, and just whatever comes out is what we're writing about that day. So it
That's
just
so cool.
depends. But if I had to pick a preference, definitely not the 3 a.m. That is just, I like my sleep. So probably out in nature. Anything in nature is just inspiring.
Some of your songs, I've heard some of the more like the fun ones. And then as your life experiences kind of evolve, your music has followed that too. I've heard some of your more recent ones that are very faith focused, right? Tell me about a couple of those.
You know, it's like you said, everything evolves. It's been interesting to kind of see that and see the shift, because now that I'm a mom and like things that were important to me as a teenager aren't really important to me now. Whereas,
Sure.
so everything's different. And so now it's like I've had to really rely on God more, especially becoming a parent. I don't know if you feel that way,
Yeah.
but it was fascinating. I love writing more Christian based. I've always loved Christian songs and Christian music, and I've listened to it more since joining J209, which is really fun. And I love being able to sing about Christ and to bring people closer to him. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is to bring people closer.
Something that's kind of cool is you and I both actually auditioned for this group twice,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Why did you audition for it twice?
So the first time, my husband was doing summer sales, and our life just looked crazy. We were packing up every April, moving out to Texas till September. And so that made doing anything here in Utah really difficult. And I think in that season of life, it just didn't work out. But the second time, I actually got a text from you and from Robert in our group. And both of you were like, Anna, like, there's a spot opening up. You should come audition. And I was like, oh, like, do I? And I like wanted to, because I love J209. And I just was worried because I'm like, oh, I mean, and, being a mom, and I'm like, okay, am I going to be able to do this and, care for my kids and, find babysitters, things like that. But it just worked out so perfectly because my husband changed careers. We're now in Utah full time. And so not having that obstacle of moving every summer, the stars just aligned. And I could see God just like playing chess with every little
He's like,
part
oh,
of
you
this.
don't know.
It's not quite your turn yet. But it just was fascinating because that's how everything worked out was, my husband changed careers and then you and Robert texted me and it was like, oh, wait, this actually would work.
You hear that, people? Personal invitations. That's what it is.
And timing.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness. There are so many times in my life I feel like I just have to be patient and trust God and be like, this may not be my season yet, but that doesn't mean my season isn't coming. And I think that's something too that kind of this whole experience has shaped the way that I view just like opportunity, because we can prepare for opportunities, but if it's not our season, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
And we can try to make it happen, but I think it ultimately God's the one that's going to say, okay, here you go. And he's going to play chess and he's going to move the pieces around and make it work. This whole opportunity aligned so perfectly that there's no way it couldn't have been divine intervention.
I love that. Love that. That's great.
So you mentioned you auditioned twice for the group, and I want to talk about you for a little bit because you've done some crazy, amazing things musically. Tell us more about kind of where your love for music came from.
Yeah, man. I cannot remember a time in my life when music wasn't a part of it.
Amen.
Like, it was from the womb, I'm sure. You know?
I bet your dad was singing to your mom's belly.
Oh, I'm sure.
I can
sure
totally
of it.
see your dad doing that.
I mean, I remember doing that when my wife was pregnant,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
My dad was in a Christian group
No way.
when I was growing up. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. I remember just, not in a bad way, but idolizing just what they were doing. Like, it just was so cool to see my dad up there on stage testifying, preaching of Christ, and he would do that with such conviction, right? Yeah, that's kind of where a lot of that started. And I can't discount also when I'm talking about my background in music, my mom, she taught piano all growing up, and so of course it was expected. I mean, we really did not have a choice. All of me and my siblings, we all learned piano. Sure, in those years there was a lot of resentment, but I'll tell you what, now I am so glad that was a part of my upbringing, because music is important. I mean, you mentioned it. Music really just like it speaks to you, right? It just goes right into your heart, into your soul, and
So Parker, have you always sung Christian music, or would you kind of say you would do like more of the pop world kind of crossover into Christian, or like when did you start singing Christian music specifically?
Christian music has always been a part of my life, but I'm maybe a little ashamed to admit that it, for a long time, was like, oh, this is like just a Sunday thing, you know? Not that I was only ever just like a Sunday Christian. That's not what I mean. It's just like, it was not as much a part of my life as it is today. And there's a lot of really great music that's not strictly Christian music, right? There's really fantastic music out there. But when I was a kid, a lot of the music that I would listen to, it was Broadway music, or it was pop music or rock music. I listened to pretty much everything. I love country. I love some R&B, some rap even. I like. That's awesome. Music to me is just kind of all of music. I really love classical music too, but most recently, Christian music has been like the thing in my life, right? Even at home with my kids, it's like my kids just jam out to Christian music.
That's so
it is
cute.
the coolest thing.
I love that.
So Christian music has been absolutely transcendent for me personally, and especially for my family.
Yeah. I want to hear about your experience with Vocal Point, auditioning for the group. Like, tell me everything about your journey through all of this.
Yeah. So when I was at college, I went to BYU, and there was this group called Vocal Point. Honestly, I didn't know a lot about the group. And, they had quite a history before I had ever even really heard about the group. Yeah. Anyway, when I was on campus, auditions were opening up, and I decided to go on audition, and I was lucky enough to make it in. It was, it was amazing. Yeah. It was so much fun. I had no idea how much I would enjoy it. So I did that for 2 years, and most recently, yeah, I auditioned for J209. And like I mentioned, I auditioned twice.
Mm-hmm.
The first time, it didn't quite work out for similar reasons that you mentioned. It was a season of life when things were crazy or a little bit difficult. But the second time, when they opened up auditions again, I remember reaching out to a friend of mine and just asked him. He happened to know a little bit more about the group, and just asked him, tell me a little bit about this, about the vision, the goal, what.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I think that aligns with something I want to do. I auditioned and I was offered a spot, and then I still was like, but this is going to be so much.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much time.
Because you work too. Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
in marketing.
Full time.
Yeah.
I am in marketing, yes. I work full time, have a normal 9 to 5 job.
Yeah. So how do you juggle that?
It's funny. I heard a wise person once was asked, how do you find balance in life? And he just said, there is no such thing as balance. You cannot truly balance everything in life. And it was so funny because I was like, wait a second. Wait, what? Did you really just say that?
Yeah.
Because there's so much. I mean, this is such a hot topic. You see it all over social media and everywhere. People are like, let me tell you about balance. You need to find balance.
Work-life balance, family, work. Yeah.
And it's like, you need to cut all these things out of your life. And I'm not discounting some of those things. You should there are definitely times when you should probably cut things out of your life, but
not binge like 8 hours of Netflix every day.
Right. But I've kind of, when I heard that, I've kind of shifted my thinking. Here I had been sort of chasing balance, and then instead you realize maybe balance doesn't really exist in that way.
Yeah.
And instead I need to be just seeking to be present with what I am doing right now.
Yeah.
Of course, you need to make sure that what you're doing is worth doing. But if it is, then be present. Yeah. Be there. Be a part of it.
What are some ways that you lock in to be present? Because I am such a planner. I love to look into the future, and I have a hard time being in the moment. I would love any advice you have for me.
Man, I don't know that I'm perfect at it, but I would say there's probably a few things. One of them is practice, right? Practice not multitasking. But what I mean is practice not being like on your phone while you're talking to somebody.
Yes.
Practice looking somebody in the eye.
Yeah.
Practice actually listening to what they're saying. When somebody introduces themselves and then like 2 second sentences later, you're like, wait, what was your name again?
Yeah, it's true. It's like you go into autopilot and you don't even let it sink in.
Right. And have you noticed how so many people default to this? Oh, sorry, I'm so bad with names. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're just not listening.
You're not
People
paying
aren't
attention.
bad with names. It's not like this condition. I have this condition where I'm bad with names. Like, that's not a thing. Like, sure, some people have bad memories, but it's like just listen. Like, be present with a person.
Yeah, be an active listener.
Yeah, an active listener. Really great way of putting it.
Cool.
So that's one thing, practicing.
Yeah.
I would say another thing that has helped me is, and I mean this honestly, praying.
Ooh, I love that.
I am not super amazing at this. When I was a little kid, I had it was almost like a mental checklist. Make sure I pray in the morning and pray at night, and if I didn't do that, I would feel so down on myself. But at the same time, I was really good at praying, I guess. And I tried to be present in my prayers too, and actually talk to God, not just, a list of requests. But no, I feel like praying is something that kind of grounds me. So a lot of times, whether it's before a concert, sometimes I'm just driving alone in my car, and it's like I'm trying to prep for something. I'm going to say a prayer.
Well, and I feel like what you said is such a great point, because so often we think we have to go into our closet, kneel, pray, which is still good. But it's like when you're driving in your car, you can just shoot a little prayer up and be like, hey,
Lord,
let's have a chat. You're obviously not going to fold your arms and close your eyes while you're driving, but I love that it's you just keep an open line, almost like a phone call.
Oh, yeah.
Versus
you don't have to hang up.
Yeah. You just can talk to him whenever you want. I love that. That's so cool. Let's circle back a little bit to music in your life.
Yeah.
So is there a specific Christian song, worship song, hymn that you feel you connect with the most, or that describes kind of your testimony, or what's your favorite Christian song?
I'm going to have to say that there are two.
Ooh, okay.
One of them is not super well known, but it was a song that my dad sang in his group, his
I love
band
that.
years ago. It was called Stand Up. And the words, it says, stand up, take each other's hand. And it's all about standing together with believers and standing for faith. It's one of those songs that starts out slow and quiet, and it builds, and it's got this amazing moment. And my dad is a fantastic singer, and he's like
He's
wailing
so
in the rafters, singing super high. But it's that moment that's just, that always really spoke to me about standing for faith, but also standing together. You don't always have to stand alone. There are a lot of believers around. So that's one song. Another one is much more recently. In fact, just in this last week, I have spent, honestly, probably hours listening to Holy Forever by Chris Tomlin. Like, you talk about music speaking to your soul. This has spoken to my soul. It is a beautiful song, and it is about angels crying, all creation crying out that Christ is holy forever.
That's powerful.
And it says, your name is the greatest, your name is the highest, your name stands above them all. I'm getting chills just talking about it. It's brought a lot of peace to me this week.
Yeah.
So what about you? Is there a song, a hymn, or something that has been absolutely meaningful to you?
You know, it's so hard to ask. And it's a crazy question because as musicians and people, there's so many songs that we love.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like there's one hymn that has really stuck with me throughout every season in my life, and that's Nearer My God to Thee. Like, when I would feel really lonely, like growing up, I experienced a lot of like mean girls in junior high, high school, and I felt just really alone. I feel like that song helped me get through that experience.
Yeah.
And then when I would, grieve losing my dad, it's the anniversary of his death. Even just little things like that, like every year, little moments like that when I feel really sad or I miss somebody that I've lost, like that song shows up. That song plays, and it's like, okay, it's okay. Like, Christ has gone through horrible experience so that I could be with my family again. And like little moments like that, and even just like motherhood, like losing myself in motherhood. I had a major identity crisis after my first son was born. Like, who am I? I'm this mom, but I'm also me. Like, how do I be me and a mom? And kind of like, your identity just changes so much. And, that hymn got me through that experience. So I feel like having a song that can stick with you through whatever season of life you're in is powerful, and that, like, something that you can lean on. And I think if everybody could find worship song or a hymn that resonates with them, that they can just lean on in those hard times, because life is good and it's hard and it's sad and it's wonderful. It's all the feelings, all the emotions. And I think being able to listen to that song, whether I'm happy or sad, like, and still feel healed from it and feel, that connection to heaven it's magnificent.
Oh, that's amazing. So no matter what feels you're feeling,
Yep.
it is still healing.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Okay, you mentioned a lot of hard things, and I don't mean to downplay them. Life is hard, and I think it's probably meant to be kind of hard.
Yeah.
But Anna, tell me about a time that has brought you truly closer to Jesus Christ.
It's hard because there's a few moments I can pinpoint. When I chose to get married, it was a big deal because I was really young, and a lot of people were like, what are you doing? Like, getting married so young. And I felt like it was right, and I had to really take a step back and decide for myself. It wasn't necessarily like what other people thought I should do. It was about like, okay, what does like God want me to do?
Yeah.
And it brought me a lot closer to God and to Christ, and understanding more of, like, on a personal basis, kind of God's plan and his plan, like his plan for me, and what my life would look like taking that next step into marriage, because that's a big deal, with God, and being like, hey, like, this feels right. This is what I feel I'm meant to do. So that was a moment where I was very confused about, like, a lot of voices telling me, like, no, you should. Yes, you shouldn't. Yeah, like, yes, you should. You should. But then ultimately it came down to, like, what I felt God wanted me to do. And most recently, I would say, is becoming a mom. I went through a very, very dark period where I got postpartum depression. It affected me so deeply, and I just didn't even feel like anything. I couldn't feel joy. I just felt very numb to any feeling. And sometimes that numbness feels worse, because it's like you just don't feel anything. Like, I'm like, I would rather feel sad and happy than just nothing.
Right.
And so I really had to dig deep and try to find Christ's voice in that darkness that I was in. But what about you, Parker? What is an experience that you've gone through that's brought you one step closer to Jesus Christ?
I think there's a couple of things. Something that's important to me is practicing, and there's I guess what I mean by that is there's a preparation period, right? I can remember as a little kid, one of my earliest memories is I wanted to know if God was real.
Yeah.
And I remember going into my bedroom, kneeling down and praying. And I tell you that God told me he was there.
How old were you?
Oh, I had to have been maybe 7 or 8.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I've kept doing that. I've kept praying and kept asking those questions. Sometimes I ask the same question.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you told me this years ago.
Uh-huh.
Just check in again. Are you still there? And God, he answers. He's answered me.
Yeah.
And those experiences have been sort of like a foundation or groundwork for me in some of my later experiences. Anna, you mentioned motherhood. A lot of those preparation times have helped me as I have watched my wife step into that role as a mother. We are very much co-parents, but the role of a mother is so unique and so profound. My wife actually went through different experiences from what you were mentioning. For years, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to have kids, and there was a lot of complications there. Ultimately, frankly, we're incredibly blessed to have the 2 kids that we have. Through like all of these difficult things, these medical issues, ultimately has made it so where we can't have any more kids. But being able to see how the Lord saw our hearts and how our desire was to be parents, and to be able to have that in our lives, he blessed us. And there are a lot of people that don't get that. We're fortunate that happened for us. But seeing that progression where we went from this years-long, difficult, hard thing that we had to go through, and now, yes, I think we're very much on the other side of that hard thing, right? Yeah. There's plenty more to come. I can look back and I could pinpoint so many times when it was God putting something in our path, whether it was a friend that would say something really important to us, or something we would read, or a song we would hear. Yeah, I can think back to so many different things that brought me to my knees, praying and begging that God would let me take some of the pain for once.
Oh.
Why is it her that has to hurt all the time? Why can't I hurt? Can I just hurt, please? It was like, Jesus is like, well, yeah, I know all about pain, all about hurt. And so I wasn't able to take any of that pain away, but Jesus did.
Yeah.
Jesus did. And because of that, do you know how many people whether they're neighbors, friends, people we have met who have gone through similar things, and we've been able to share our experience. And I hope that has given some strength to other people.
Well, and it's interesting because when we go through trials, it gives us so much more empathy.
Yeah.
And which is such a Christ-like emotion to have. And it's interesting because all of my experiences that have brought me closer to Christ have been trials. And I think that's like fascinating because so often we are angry about what we go through and any trials and obstacles that are put in our path, where we get frustrated with it and we say,
Yep.
like, why, God? Like, why would you put me through this? But it's interesting because in those moments are when I've felt the most close, or in those moments I felt the closest to my Savior. And I think that is interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I feel like you shared, you could take your pain and help someone else through theirs because you know what it's like. And that's maybe, Christ is the median between that, because he is the pain. He felt
Right.
the pain, and like to be able to share him in your story and to help other people is so impactful. And maybe that's why we have to go through horrible things, so that we can be able to help others and
Yeah.
other people help us. Like,
Yeah. How has what you went through changed the way you interact with other people?
oh my gosh, I have so much more patience and charity for people.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember who said this, but they said if you assume that everybody you talk to is going through something really hard,
Yeah.
you're probably right.
Yeah.
It's like we all have our own things that we're struggling with and battles that we are fighting internally and externally. Even just like the days when I felt really down and somebody just would be patient with me. If I was cranky to somebody, on a drive through or whatever, like, and they just smiled at me and said, have a great day, or like, wow, your outfit is really cute, or something, I'd be like, immediate mood shift,
Yeah.
And it just impacted me so much, where I feel like now when I go about my day, I knew what it was like to be in a dark place. And how much just a little bit of light from other people impacted me. And so being able to compliment somebody or let them know that, hey, I see you, like you're noticed,
Yeah.
you're not just another person in existence.
You're
Like,
not just a pawn.
yeah, you're not just a pawn. You're here, you're real, and you're experiencing life like I am. And I think you judge people less, you love them more, how Christ would, and you see them through Christ's eyes and how he would want us to treat other people.
Yeah.
So
Have you ever prayed to God and asked him to, just for a minute, let me see this person the way you see him?
there was a girl in high school. She was so mean, just like a bully to everybody. And I remember one night I knelt down and I prayed and I asked God to help me have charity for this girl. Like, I need to be able to see her as you see her, because she's driving me nuts. Like, I can't deal with this anymore. And this prayer was answered immediately. And it was like my heart just like flipped a switch. And it was the craziest experience I've ever had with charity, where I all of a sudden felt so much love for this girl. Like, I just loved her. And I went to school the next day and I went up to her and I gave her the biggest hug and I just said, I love you. I think you're great. You're awesome. And we became pretty good friends. And like, I mean, we were not like best friends, but
Sure.
we, like the rest of the school year, we had each other's backs, and she was never mean to me. I mean, she'd say things occasionally, but I had empathy for her, and little things that she would say didn't bug me anymore. It's just crazy how just praying and having God change your heart can change your life and other people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Man, what an awesome morning this has been. And
This has
I feel
been great.
we've talked about high school bullies. We've talked about gone from there all the way to motherhood, postpartum
Yeah.
depression. I think one of my favorite things that you said was talking about how your foundation of faith, or maybe rather your desire to grow your faith, impacted the way you interacted with other people around you. And you not only that, but you saw it coming back.
Yeah.
You saw it reciprocated.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. And isn't that, I mean, that's what the scriptures promise that we'll do, right? As we take the word of God out, we will see goodness come back to us. And that's incredible.
No, it's so true. I feel like that's what this podcast is all about. That's why we wanted to start this, is to spread goodness and to share experiences from our lives, from the guests that we're going to be having on this show. We've got some cool people lined up. I'm going to be fangirling, not going to lie. I got to keep my chill. But it's just all about sharing experiences of how we can grow closer to Christ and how we've taken one step closer.
That's what we're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to find those little moments in normal everyday people, to find out what is it that made them believe in Christ.
We'd like to thank J209 Ministries, the nonprofit that sponsors this podcast, and our Christian worship band. Our goal and mission is to ignite faith and hope in Jesus Christ.
Wherever you are on your faith journey, whether you feel close to God or you're just struggling to feel anything at all, remember this: you are loved and you belong to God. And as you take one step closer to Jesus, you will feel more fully, or maybe once again, that his Spirit and his love are in your life.